Uh, you today you touch upon the Chiang Ching-Kuo's process of democratization. But I think there's another aspect of it which you didn't touch, which I think probably bears good now, in the sense that during the 80s, because of Taiwan's isolation, there was a effort to build up the defensive capability, and that was involved in a lot of technology transfers. As a result, you have the IDF and so on and so forth. But then, if you look at it, if that process will keep on going, since the last 30 years, Taiwan, I would say the self-defense capability would be much, much different than what it is today. Yeah. And I think the culprit is really you don't play, because when you come to power, it goes to them that one way. And then the other thing is, as soon as he was able to buy the F-16, he dropped basically all the other programs and basically all the things. And one of my observations is that the Greens in general, they are not cognizant of this, the defense needs of the country. Or you look at how much trouble the U.S. has with North Korea and Iran because they try to make a bomb or whatever, whether it's or not. So I think, in a way, you can talk about democracy all day long. I think there's a technical aspect of it to support it is indeed something. Now, so the question is there will and need, within Taiwan right now to sort of revive that, to have the, if you can't buy a submarine, can I have technology transfer? I mean, all the critical components. Yeah. Yeah. But if there's no will or budget or the money or people thinking to do it, it's very tough. Yeah. And so you're living to the whims of whatever the external forces, the force you want to do.
I come from the Department of Defense, so I'm a solvent for democracy.
That's good.
From the field of arms sales, which is where I began. With kind of a quick lightning strike. I was there in 2001 when we changed. I wasn't there yet. I was there in spirit. Where we not only changed the arms sales relationship to make Taiwan a normal security partner, which, not to get into the arcane, arms sales laws and all the rest of it, but Taiwan was allowed at that point to ask for arms whenever it saw fit through its own budget cycle, as well as the approval in 2001 of a $30 billion arms package. I think that we all share some responsibility, the U.S., the KMT, and the DPP for. Well, first let me tell you the good news, because Taiwan gets a lot of blame. Taiwan has bought every item of that $30 billion arms package.
So no gifts, in other words.
Well, it's not only no gifts, none, of its own money, but also there's a narrative out there, that Taiwan doesn't, it's no use making things on sale to Taiwan because they don't buy them, and then we get these demarches. But they have bought every single item except for the submarines, and the submarines were, there's much to blame the United States for that failed program then. And if I sound a little resentful, it's because I am. As Taiwan does. But there's a few. So let's separate the issues out. Okay. So in Taiwan, something else I was very involved in, which was very fascinating work, was this move to civilian control of the military in Taiwan. Very important, and they did it very quickly. They had 3 years to do it, and to get civilians into their Ministry of Defense, to get more legislative oversight, to get a civilian Minister of Defense, very quickly and very effective, to get the military loyal not to the party but to the Constitution. Everything, they did.
That was during the first term of Chiang Ching-Kuo.
Yeah. They had till 2004 to do that. Now, but the problem is, it's not a problem. It is a problem. When you bring the legislative oversight in, it's going to slow down the arms sales process. So that's here in the United States, and that's everywhere. So then all of a sudden, more people have more ideas about arms sales. On top of which, the competence within the legislator to actually oversee those issues is not quite there yet. And that's, I'm sure it wasn't there in the United States in 1789 either, right? But there just isn't
have much of a military.
Yeah, right. But so there's no defense staff, and so, there are very well-respected legislators in Taiwan who would Google the prices of submarines and compare them to, it's like finding them on Craigslist or something, right? So this was not necessarily a rational debate at the time. Now it's gotten much better because Taiwan never ceases to amaze in terms of its ability to get competent and knowledgeable about these issues. All right, so that's one set of issues, which is sort of the democratization process on Taiwan, the way the KMT and the DPP will continue to fight each other, and use arms sales as a proxy war, all these other things that happen everywhere throughout the world. It's just that Taiwan's a frontline state and can afford it less, right? So that's sort of one set of issues. There's always this perplexing issue for me, which is coming to Taiwan as a defense official is a very relaxed public about threats from. So I always seemed a little bit more excited about the fact that Taipei could be destroyed than some of my Taiwanese friends, and I think part of it is this kind of post-history problem that advanced industrial democracies have. Frank Fukuyama's famous post-history. Just kind of end of aging populations, wealthier. Don't want to do it anymore. Don't want to. And then the classic Chinese culture of sending your son into the military is not a good trade. That's even more difficult now that Taiwan's moving to an all-volunteer force, because guess what? They have to be attracted to that force. So, that's on Taiwan. And there's some perplexing things that I don't fully understand in terms of the threat perception. Now, in the United States, look, when the United States has the will, it can get arms into people's hands. If you just look at the Iraqi, what's left of the army right now, we're getting arms into their hands within days. And so when the United States, really feels, we can get arms into Taiwan's hands, it's when you kind of have this dynamic of, political debates in Taiwan that the United States doesn't understand about funding for those arms, and then the United States getting a little lethargic and complacent, and then also thinking, well, things seem to be good between China and Taiwan, so what's the urgency? And then you have what you have today, which is, as you well mentioned, a national defense system that is not, I forget keeping up with the PRC, because that's not going to happen, but posing asymmetric threats to the PRC. So I think those are some, by way of explanation of what's going on there.
Let me just